What is up guys, my name is Ignas, welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to bring up Micron Technology, ticker symbol MU. It is a semiconductor name focused on computer memory and data storage products, though the stock has been all over the place recently. On the year to date it is down for 6.26%, going from over $95 per share to the loss of $79 for 2022. But if we take the last 6 months, the performance was quite decent, going from $71 to $90 per share, which means it is up for 26.57%. Now 1 year's performance is again worse, as the stock is pretty much flat up 2.3%, but zooming out to 5 years, it seems to again have been great, up 284.41%. Even after that run in 2020, price to earnings looks to be decent at 13.88, and they have recently started paying a dividend, which is now at a yield of 0.45%. So for today's analysis, we will be taking a look into the most recent earnings report, then fundamentals and financial ratios. After that, what analysts think about the stock, then we'll check if any super investors are holding it, and lastly if we should be buying it with regards to the technicals. I hope this will be an interesting one to look into, so let's start. So the last quarter was reported on December 20 of 2021, and Micron stock rallies as strong data center sales drive outlook and earnings. So on top line, Micron reported $7.69 billion, almost a $2 billion increase from the same quarter of last year. And they did beat analyst expectations, where that was at $7.68 billion. Now for the bottom line, they brought in $2.16 per share, which is almost a 3x increase from last year at 78 cents. And that also beat analyst expectations by 6 cents, where they had forecasted adjusted earnings of $2.10 per share. So far so good, both top and bottom lines had huge increases, beating analysts' expectations. And 2022 expectations look decent, where Micron's chief executive says, so as the supply chain shortages cease during the course of 2022, that will be a tailwind for demand for us for memory and storage products, and we expect calendar year 2020 to be a strong year for data center demand. But let us go further out and check how Micron was performing in the last 5 years. So these are the 5-year revenue history. Back in 2016 they were bringing in $13 billion on the trailing 12 months. Then for 2017 it was almost double at $23 billion. It topped in 2018 at $31.5 billion, but then we did have a decline by the end of 2019. There were a few quarters with just $5 billion in revenue, so for the trailing 12 months they had it at $20.64 billion. But in 2020 it started picking up steam and revenue increased to $22 billion, and then adding a few more great quarters, we're now at $29.6 billion on the trailing 12 months. So Micron did have better revenues back in 2018, but we are now moving higher from that 2019 slump, and quarter after quarter they have been on a consistent increase. Now let us take price to earnings of 5 years. So back in 2016 we had earnings in the negative, so price to earnings at 0. Then in 2017 the price 2x'd, but there was a huge increase in earnings, so the price to earnings was at 6.57. As earnings doubled but the price remained flat, price to earnings decreased to 3.17. Then we had that revenue slump, which also seems to have led into a decrease in earnings, so PE ratio increased to 15.14. Then for 2020 earnings remained, and with the price soaring, price to earnings went to 24.12, and it did peak in the beginning of 2021, where the price was at over $90 per share, with a PE ratio of 32.38. Now with the latest quarter added, the price pretty much went sideways, but earnings increased by quite a lot, so the price to earnings went lower to just under 13. Now price to earnings at 13 doesn't seem that bad, and for almost 2 years we had it at around or over 20, but then again if we go 4 years back, we had the PE ratio at under 4 for a year, and then at around 6 for another. So the multiple did go lower by the second part of 2021, but we could have gotten it at a way better price back in 2018 or 2019. Now next part will be the shares outstanding. So back in 2016 it was at 1.091 billion, then in a year it was up over 12% to 1.2 billion shares. In 2018 we were down for 4% to 1.17 billion, and then we just kept on going sideways. In 2019 we were at 1.1 billion shares, then 2020 1.13, and now for the last quarter of 2021 it was still at 1.13 billion shares. So there was a small decrease in the share shares outstanding starting with 2018 and then decreasing it by almost 10% for 2019, but that doesn't seem to be suggesting the whole picture. So this is the shares history dating to 2006. As we can find, they have been introducing new shares and then buying some of those back in a year or two, followed by even more shares in. So it seems that the number of shares outstanding haven't changed much starting from 2014. And if we take an even longer time period, then this move is clearly in an uptrend, because we did have it at under 0.8 billion shares, and we are now around 40% up at 1.14 billion. We can check on the dividends too, though there is not much information to go around. One quarter it was 10 cents per share, and the next one they double it at 20 cents. So with the price being at $71, the yield was at 0.14%, and even with the price surging to $93, as the payout doubled, the yield also went higher to 0.21%. If let's say the payout keeps getting doubled every quarter, and the price just keeps on going sideways, then we will be getting a huge dividend yield soon, but I really doubt that the payout increases may keep this pace up, so the best we may expect out of it is a moderate increase on the dividend yield. Now let us take a look into analysts' expectations. Where do they think the stock should be in exactly 1 year? Here we have results for 35 price targets for Micron Technology. They range from the lows of $58 to the highs of $165 per share. The average is at $109.46, and currently the stock is trading at $89.76. This means that analysts expect that in 1 year the price should go up by 21.9%. But let's also take another angle. So these are here earnings per share expectations for next year, and on average analysts estimate that they will be bringing in $11.64. So if the price to earnings ratio remains the same for next year, this would lead to an increase in the share price of 29.8%. So overall, from the analysts' expectations, we could estimate that the share price is expected to increase from 22 to 30% next year. Now we know that analysts are quite bullish, but what about super investors? Are they buying or selling out? Here we have 10 portfolios who are holding Micron. It seems that 2 of those has added recently, 4 of the portfolios keeps on holding, but 4 of those 10 are reducing on their positions. Let's look into ads first. So Maverick Capital did an addition of 206%, meaning that they added over 57,000 shares, which at the current price of around $90 per share would be an addition of capital of $5.16 million. And then another fan of the stock is Monish Pabrai, where he added almost 2% onto his position of 1.58 million shares. So he added around 32,000 shares, which at the price of $90 per share would be at $2.8 million. But now there is a larger problem with the sellers. For example, Appaloosa Management reduced their position by 51% and are now holding 2,750,000 shares. So this suggests that they reduced their position by a similar amount, which would come in at $250 million. And Baupost Group would be even worse, as they reduced the position by 55%, so it means they did reduce their position by a similar amount, which at the current price of $90 would come in as a reduction of around $300 million. And insider activity doesn't also help on that, because in the last 6 months there haven't been reported any buying transactions, but there were 13 transactions to sell, which total at $25.4 million US. So overall, both super investors and insiders are sellers of the stock, and there is not that much buying activity to compensate it out. Now currently I'm also not holding Micron on the public eToro portfolio, though we did have some profit off it in 2021, where back in October we started a position of $100 at an opening price of $68.80, and then in November we closed it at $74.52 for a profit here of 8.31%. But could we consider buying into Micron right now, at least for a trade? Let's take a look into the price chart. So this is here the trade that we did, opened in October and closed in November. And after that, the price just kept on going higher. It reached the highs somewhere in January at around $97 per share. then by the end of January crashed under 100, 200 and 300 moving averages to the lows of $75.52. But we recently bounced back over the 50-day moving average at just under $90 per share. So it looks to me that we could wait for the price to go back under the 50-day moving average and consider the remaining moving averages to give any kind of a support, starting with at least $81 per share. Now, since we have all the information in, let's do a quick recap. So on the most recent quarter, they did beat analysts' expectations on both top and bottom lines, with higher revenues and earnings year over year. Now, there was a slump in revenues in 2019, but from that point onwards they were on a consistent increase. Unfortunately, though the price-to-earnings ratio decreased a bit, it's still now expensive compared to where it was 3-4 years ago. Number of shares outstanding has been going sideways in the last 5 years, but if we do take a longer time period, then it was in a continuous uptrend. For the last quarter, they did 2x on the dividend payout, but unfortunately there is no history on such increases, and it's very unlikely to keep on happening consistently. Analysts though are quite bullish, as they predict that in 1 year the share price should be trading higher from 22 to 30%. But Superinvestors and insiders are not sharing that same optimism, as overall they keep on selling out of the name. Looking into the price chart, I wouldn't want to buy right now, as we did just surge recently, with the price now hovering at over the 50-day moving average. But if we do get a slowdown and a dip, I would consider starting a position at around $81 per share. So that was it for today. Make sure to support the channel and leave a thumbs up under the video. What do you think? Is Micron Technology a worthy pick right now? Share your stance on the name in a comment below. If you would be interested to know exactly when I buy or sell any stock, then consider memberships. By becoming a member, you will get access to Discord, where I share my stock watchlist and all the buys and sells exactly when I do them. This could be a great option to track my moves closely. Last week I did an analysis on a semiconductor company from Taiwan, so if you would be interested in that, then click on a video that is currently on the screen. And that was it from my side. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing y'all in the next one.